Hello everyone. Today I'm going to solder the clouds and crescent moon sun catcher, and rather than boring you and having you watch me solder the entire thing, I'll solder the front side and then I'll pause the recording and then I'll solder the back of it, and then I'll come back and record finishing the edge. And I also got some crystal dangles I'm going to put some loops on the bottom of the sun catcher and dangle some crystals off of. And I believe the points that I'm going to put those are here and here and here. And I found some nice crystals on Amazon. I'm not sure what colors I'm going to choose yet. I want to match them up with the colors in the glass. And I've got those. And I've got these. These are really pretty. All right, let's get soldering. I'm going to flux some points where pieces come together and then tack solder. I've already got my soldering iron all warmed up. I use a Weller 100 iron and acid flux, and I still have some solder I'm using from when I was in Europe, and solder there does not come in spools, they come in just long pieces. This is still 60-40 solder though. So if you see me with these long pieces, I'm just using up some of my solder from Europe. And then when that's all gone, I will order some spools here in the States. All right, tack solder where the pieces come together. That way the pieces don't shift around. All right. And most of the time, once you've dipped your brush into the flux, there's quite a bit of flux left on the brush, so you don't have to dip every time. So I didn't re-dip. I'm just using what flux is already on the brush and fluxing the rest of the foil. I like doing the outer edge first. All right. And I usually starting at the top and work my way down. And we've got quite a few seams, but they're small seams. And to get a nice bead, you need your iron down on the foil and glass. If you find you're getting a lot of uneven solder beads, you might just be gliding your iron over. You want your iron down on the foil, on the glass. If you feel more comfortable having your solder ahead of your iron, you can do that. Or just take a little solder as you need it. Whatever you're more comfortable with. When you're doing longer solder seams, it's easier to have that solder ahead of your iron. And then when you don't need any more solder, you can get it out of the way. And like that, that was some extra solder that was on the iron. And we'll pick that up. Well, I guess we will push it to where we need it. Some of these seams don't look nice yet. I'll go back over them. And that's how quick we were able to solder the front side. Some extra solder. I'm going to drop it on my board. All right. Touch up our seams. If your seams look okay to you, you don't need to go over them. Sometimes I fuss a little bit too much. And you don't want to fuss so much that your glass gets too hot, because all the heat from the iron and the hot solder makes your glass hot. And there will be occasions where your glass gets so hot that it can crack. So I'm gonna yeah, sometimes you can fuss too much. I'm gonna leave that like that. I'm gonna let it cool for a few minutes, and then I'll flip it over and do the other side. And then when I'm ready to do the very outside edge and put the hooks on, the loops, I will be back and record that. I'm back. I have let my piece cool down. I've soldered both sides. I've got 5 jump rings ready to go. I'm going to use 2 to hang the piece, and I'll put some lightweight chain on it, and then 3 jump rings on the bottom that I'm going to hang some crystals off of. I've got my solder ready. I've bent a piece so I can just take my iron and pull solder off as I need to put it on the edge and do a lightly beaded edge around the piece. All right, we always need to flux our copper before we start soldering. I'm going to put some flux around the top. I'm not one to wear gloves. I just never have been. If you feel more comfortable wearing gloves, please do. If my piece gets too hot when I'm soldering it and I still want to continue working, I'll use a rag to hold the piece so the hot glass doesn't feel too hot on my fingers. So you may see me doing soldering videos where I have a rag holding the piece. All right, we've got the flux around. You get my iron and a little bit of solder. And I hope this shows up well for you. You don't need a lot. You just need enough. A little bit as you go. Trying to keep your piece level. And I'm getting it out of the camera shot. Let's do that again. Oh, and did you see that drip? When you're doing the outside edge, make sure you have your piece over your work table. Don't accidentally have it over your lap. A little bit of solder at a time. You really can't come in and bead like you do when you're doing the sides. And this is tricky to do, tricky to record and tricky to do. A little bit at a time. And you may go back and forth, touching it up. Little bit at a time. I won't record beading all the way around the whole piece. I'll continue to do a little bit more so you can watch. Now I've got too much solder right there. So I'm going to try and heat it up and just move it. Anyway, I was saying I won't bore you by having you watch me bead the edge of the entire piece. I'll stop the video at some point. We need to try and get it level. There. And I just want to check and see how hot. And that piece is very hot. This piece is still cool. Okay. I did already flux that, so we should be okay. Make it look nice where your pieces come together as well. Little bit of bead, trying to keep it level. Rotate, trying to keep it level, which is hard to do on these curves. Sun catchers that have a little bit straighter edge. Of course, it's going to be easier. I think this was a good learning project for everyone. You watched me cut it. You watched me cut out the inside curves. Then you watched me grind all the pieces, fit them. And then in another video, I taught you how to foil inside curves. I hope that was informational for everybody. A lot of people don't think about starting and stopping your foil and restarting like you can in inside curves. You don't have to foil each piece with one piece of foil. And we're having trouble with that one. And here I think the problem is just having the piece sit level so you can get it to bead level. All right, I'm going to stop here and I'm going to continue beading around this piece, and then I will come back and we'll put the jump rings on. Welcome back. I've got my edge all beaded, and now we're going to put on the jump rings. Now, like I had said, I'm going to put some lightweight chain to hang this by, but with this type of chain where you can't, try and show you here, you can't open the links to it. So you need to put your jump ring through the end loop. And for us older folks, this can be somewhat fun to do. All right, let me grab a jump ring that's slightly open and slip the jump ring through that end hole. I had it. Let me get it again. There we go. Now I'm going to close that up a little bit. Okay. And I've chose to put the hanging rings from this point and this one over here. So let me turn this around. Hopefully you can see what I'm doing. That's the spot. I've got my jump ring on this chain. I need some better pliers that don't rust. This is because flux has gotten on these. Back in the day, I had Craftsman pliers, and those rusted as well. So, and I dropped it. If anyone can suggest some pliers that do not rust after they've gotten flux on them, please let me know. And I'm trying to watch the camera and watch what I'm doing, and I need to pay more attention to what I'm doing here with the pliers. Get my chain out of the way. And get this hook in here. And if you have problems doing this too, well, you can see you're not the only one. This is when it helps to have 3 hands. All right. Flux our hook. Pick up a little bit of solder on the iron. And get that in there. We'll let it cool and we'll fix it up a little bit so it doesn't look so flat. Let's go over to the other side and do the same thing. And let me double check to make sure I'm putting it where I wanted it. Over here. That lower curve. All right, end of our chain. I need some better bifocals. One of our jump rings. That's a little open on the end. Slip it through the hole. I may need to open it up a little bit more because it's not wanting to go in. Just need to. All right, come on, Wendy. Use pliers. Open it a little bit. Slip it through the loop. And if anybody's wondering why I'm not soldering the chain to the piece, this chain I have is not solderable. So that's why I have to do it this way. Not every metal is solderable. I can discuss that in another video or a short, or you can do a quick Google search to find out what metals are solderable. Not every kind is. All right. Again, this if we had 3 or 4 hands, this would be a lot easier. But you can do it yourself with a little bit of patience. And if I would move this into view so you can see what I'm trying to do. Trying to hold this. All right, for heaven's sake, stay on there. Hope you're enjoying this. Me struggling with this. You're not the only one that has problems soldering hooks on. All right, this again. All right, we'll let that cool. We'll come back and we'll make it look nice, and then we have to double check what it looks like on the back side. All right, let's go back to this one here. See how we're kind of flat? Let's fix that up. And you don't want to heat it up too much. It wouldn't hurt if I held this with my pliers so we don't accidentally drop the ring from it heating up too much. Touch up our soldering, make it look nicer. All right, go back to this one. I'm going to hold the ring with my pliers, so in case it heats up too much and wants to drop off, it won't. Picking up a little bit of solder. Make that a little nicer looking. All right. See how it looks on the back side. Neat, and we got some glops. Do the same thing. Let's hold our hook. I was just thinking a nice little video or short I could do is show you how to clean your iron tip. I will keep that in mind and look for that. I have some tip tinner that I haven't used before. I normally always used Salamaniac block, and I already have enough solder here, and actually I think I might have too much. I'm going to take a little bit off of here. Try to. And what happened was some of that solder got on my tip, and I put it on my work board. Let gravity. I just kind of swung my iron towards the work board and let that flop off of there. All right. Pretty nice. All right. I'm not going to make you watch me put the jump rings on the bottom where we're going to hang crystals off of. I will come back and show you when I am finished with that. And there you have it. I got the jump rings added to the bottom where I'm going to hang crystals off of it. After it cools down, I will wash it up. I just use dish soap and warm water, not too hot, not too cold, and then I dry it off, and because I'm leaving it silver, I am just going to wax it. And turtle wax makes a spray, and that's what I use to polish it off. There is a turtle wax that is thicker. I will try and include just a picture of what I use, and then I'll show a picture at the end of this after it's all cleaned up with the crystals hanging on it. With something like this, if the marker doesn't come off while you're washing it with dish soap, the thicker turtle wax works real well to get any marker off, and especially on iridescent glass seems to hold on to marker longer, more difficult to get it cleaned off. And so I will use just a dab of that thick polish on okay, Georgie, on a rag, and then go over the marker that doesn't want to come off with just dish soap and water. And usually I will go over the whole piece with my fingers. I want to feel if there's any sharp points of solder. If there's any sharp points, we want to get them knocked down. We don't want to leave those on there. And it feels pretty good. So I will get this cleaned up, and then I will show you what it looks like when it's all done with the crystals and polished up. Thanks for watching. Please, please subscribe. Help me build up my viewership. I would really appreciate it. And don't be afraid to share my videos that you think have been really, really helpful for you. Thank you so much. Bye.